start my speech today by quoting one of my favorite scriptures attributed to an ancient Chinese philosopher named Lao Tzu. And he wrote, "There is a saying among soldiers, I dare not make the first move, but would rather play the guest. I dare not advance an inch, but would rather withdraw a foot." This is called marching without appearing to move, rolling up your sleeves without showing your arm, capturing the enemy without attacking, being armed without weapons. In my presentations on peace education, when I speak about nonviolence, I always have to emphasize that nonviolence is meant to be active, not passive. This is why Martin Luther King Jr. always added the word resistance when he spoke of nonviolence. Nonviolent resistance is meant to be an action-based approach to addressing injustice. In this sense, not only is nonviolence not passive, it should be thought of as a form of fighting. Fighting against injustice, unfairness, oppression, discrimination, and inequality. This year, my Green Party campaign for Secretary of State has exposed several examples of injustice and corruption in the ballot access laws in the state of Indiana. Not only in ballot access, but also in laws and policies that amount to voter suppression. As a third-party candidate, this election cycle, we needed to get 26,699 verified signatures to get my name on the ballot. If I were running as a Republican or Democrat, I would only need 5,000. The deadline for turning in the petitions was noon July 2nd. This deadline several years ago used to be September 1st. It was then moved back to August 1st, and this election cycle was set at July 2nd. As you can see, there has developed greater and greater obstacles put forth by the two major parties to allowing third-party candidates to gain ballot access. There are also numerous examples of voter suppression tactics used by the current Secretary of State, Connie Lawson. These include the creation of voter centers that are more conveniently located for people living in middle and upper-class neighborhoods, and in efforts to purge names from voter rolls based on the lack of participation in past elections or based on an interstate cross-check system which has since been declared unlawful by a district court judge. Our campaign to get my name on the ballot for Secretary of State was an effort to address and call public attention to these examples of injustice. To a limited extent, we have made the public aware of this unequal signature requirement. If you listened to my radio interview last April with Tony Lamont on Indianapolis station WTLC, and you can also hear it on my website, you will hear me speak about these voter suppression efforts. But our activism as Green Party members has not come anywhere close to being sufficient. I was told that there were roughly 7,000 Indiana citizens who voted for Jill Stein in the 2016 election, and that they were activists, and that these voters comprised our Green Party base. And if you do the math, all we needed to do to obtain the number of signatures on the ballot, to get me on the ballot, we needed 200 volunteers to get 200 signatures. 200 times 200 is 40,000, which would have surely been given me ballot access. And 200 signatures are not hard to get. Starting in January, I managed to get 200 signatures on my petition forms within just 6 weeks. But out of the 7,000 Green Party members, we could hardly find 40 that were willing to roll up their sleeves without showing their arms, capture the enemy without attacking, arming themselves with pens and petitions to go out and actively petition them. We are, however, still waiting for the election division of the Secretary of State's office to tell us exactly how many signatures were turned in to the county voter registration offices, a count that was supposed to have been available to us by July 16th. the fact that we have not been told how many signatures we acquired constitutes a serious procedural violation on the part of the election division office. So now the issues of inequality in the petitioning process have become the basis of a lawsuit that is being filed against the election division within the Indiana Office of Secretary of State. But regardless of the outcome of the legal challenge we are mounting, the low number of volunteers makes me question if we even have a Green Party base. And without a base of willing, active volunteers, even as low as the number as 200, do we have a political party? And do we really believe in the power of nonviolence? I suggest to you that we do have a base, but it is a base that is all too silent. I say this because I speak to Hoosiers around the state, and when I do, I find many Republicans, Democrats, and Libertarians who share our values. People are outraged at the injustice and inequality behind the petitioning signature requirement for independent or third-party candidates. And people in the three parties I just mentioned support many of the points on my campaign platform and believe that the laws need to be reformed. I am, for example, the only candidate who pledges to introduce Hoosiers to ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting, I say, does to the electoral system what the three-point shot did for college basketball. It opens up the center so more issues can be aired, and it gives the long shot more influence in the game. Under ranked choice voting, a third-party candidate can contribute to the political debate without becoming a spoiler, and there will always be a majority winner. I am the only candidate who insists that we return to paper ballots to prevent hackers from disrupting our elections. And throwing our nation into a constitutional crisis. An electronic paper trail is being proposed by the Democratic candidate is not enough. I am the only candidate who wants Election Day to be at least a half-day holiday so workers have adequate time to get to the polls and cast their vote. I am the only candidate who believes we should have open primaries to weaken the two-party duopoly. Open primaries would encourage people to vote for candidates not out of party loyalty, but because they agree with the stance the candidates, be they Republican, Democratic, or Green, or Libertarian, are taking on pressing issues. I am the only candidate who is an advocate for the passage of the hate crime law. I am the only candidate for Secretary of State who openly speaks out in favor of legalizing medical marijuana and legalizing all cannabis and hemp-related products. I am the only candidate speaking out against laws our Republican legislature has attempted to pass that would allow business owners to discriminate against members of the LGBTQ community in the name of so-called religious freedom. I am the only candidate advocating that we raise the minimum wage in Indiana to be at least competitive with our neighboring state of Michigan, and subsequently move our state toward a living wage for all, thereby ending the underclass known as the working poor. I am the only candidate that openly supports the workers' right to organize and to have say over the working conditions at work. I am the only candidate promoting Medicare for all and moving our state toward a simple single-payer system. I am the only candidate insisting that no one's name should be purged from the voter rolls simply because they haven't voted in past election or because their name happens to be similar to someone in a neighboring state. purging of a name from our voter rolls should occur only if there is documentation that the person is deceased or has moved out of state. I am the only candidate that has pledged to be an advocate for peace education in our schools, where students will learn how physical violence is rooted in the psychological violence of bullying, name-calling, and intimidation, and in structural, economic, political, and social systems that foster discrimination and oppression. And I am the only candidate who is an advocate for adding the arts to STEM degree programs, placing the arts on equal footing with science, technology, engineering, and math. And I am a candidate who is refusing to take money from large corporate donors, yes, and who will not be bought by special interest groups like the NRA. In addition, I have also pledged to establish same-day voter registration, expand early voting opportunities, and base redistricting on an algorithmic model that would be then adjusted by a nonpartisan redistricting commission that would be appointed by the Secretary of State's office. I ask that you all please take time to go to my website, wolfforindiana.com, and become acquainted with the platform videos, articles, and speeches that I have been active in creating and presenting. From my website, you will see that I have put forth a tremendous effort reaching out to people around the state and moving our campaign forward. In the first poll that was taken in March, I was polling at 8% of the vote. In the second poll, which added the Libertarian candidate, I polled at 4%. This means that we have the opportunity in this election cycle to secure at least 2% of the vote, which would give the Green Party future ballot access in our state. But gaining 2% of the vote should not be our goal. Our goal should be for me to win the election and become your next Secretary of State. Remember, both Democrat and Republican parties have been guilty of gerrymandering, and only a Secretary of State from outside the two parties can end this corrupt practice. Fortunately, I am blessed with an outstanding election committee. I can't say enough about the dedicated expert help I've received from Terry Cinto, my communication director, Adam Muehlhausen, my webmaster, Bill Sanders and Michael Richardson, my volunteer coordinators, Ray Galcester, my treasurer and campaign manager, Paul Logan, our attorney, and other volunteer organizers, including Amanda Shepard, Sarah Dillon, Susan Brown, Joe Kahn, and Monica Jenkins. And from the Delaware County, Robert Willey and Elena McKenzie, and also Sarah Perez and Pluto Brand from Fort Wayne. Perhaps our rather lackluster petitioning effort is actually a blessing in disguise. Perhaps it is a wake-up call that the Indiana Green Party needed. For now, we see we have to work even harder. I need every one of you to wear your buttons, display your bumper stickers, and hand out business cards that explain to people how they can vote for me as a write-in candidate. We have to raise more funds to boost posts on social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook, to educate Hoosiers on my progressive platform and how to vote for me as a write-in candidate. We have to really work to exploit the social media This will take effort, far more effort than petitioning, but I believe we can accomplish this by aggressively publicizing and canvassing. Please contribute at our table today to receive your free bumper sticker, pin, or one of my published books. By the way, if you give $50, you'll receive a book of your choice, or a CD, compact disc, or and your contribution will go directly to helping many Indiana voters hear about my platform. All we need to do to get this done is to roll up our sleeves without showing our arms, capture our enemy by showing the voters of Indiana that the Green Party is setting the stage for the future of democracy in Indiana and in our nation. Thank you very much.